Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to this special edition of Newsroom. I am Omar Khalid, and we are in the midst of a very important building that manages and that tells Pakistan how to deal with different disasters. Yes, we are in the building of the National Disaster Management Authority, and in fact, this room that we are in is known as the National Emergencies Operations Center. This is the room from which everything is controlled as far as the management of different climate emergencies is concerned. And we have the privilege to have with us, sitting right next to me, Chairman of the National Disaster Management Authority, His Excellency Lieutenant General Inam, Haider, Malik, Hilal Imtiaz Military. I have to say that because it's such a privilege to be in the midst and next to somebody who has done so much for disaster management in Pakistan and of course for our armed forces as well. Thank you very much, sir, to have joined us. First of all, I'd just like to understand, before we go a bit further or delve a little bit further into what specific operations the NDMA does, how important is this very room, the National Emergencies Operations Center, and how effective has been the implementation of disaster management through this very room?
So thank you very much for having us around, and this is again an opportunity for us to have the Pakistan narrative exposed to the global community at large, and also to carry this message for our people who are also listening to it and trying to benefit from this event. This National Emergencies Operations Center is actually the hub of all climate and other disasters related information that we gather from global satellites, softwares, artificial intelligence, our own national databases, and then we collect it in a manner that if it can be used to predict our future disasters. I will just briefly go down to the context of this disaster management. Globally, this is a subject which is now challenging everybody alike. It is the developing world as well as the developed world which is going to be impacted, and they are being affected by these disasters anomalies which unfortunately are increasing every year, not only by frequency but also in the intensity. Because we understand there is a global debate on climate change and the increasing temperatures of the globe. Now this is because of different factors. Greenhouse gases is just one of them. There are other coupling factors too, because there is a population which is increasing, though there is a global increase in the demand of the civilizations or the sustenance of this population. Urbanization. So this would definitely put pressures on industries to develop more or manufacture more, which would in turn go to the fossil fuels, all the alternate source of burnings, and thus these greenhouse gases will be accumulated more, and they will be unfortunately increasing every year. Now this puts pressure on the countries which are close to the rim of equator or maybe close to the North Pole, because with rising temperatures both the poles are melting at a very higher rate. Now this melting of the ice has unfortunately accelerated in the past years. What happens to Pakistan today is actually the component of what is happening to the world at large. We have seen in the last couple of years that there are events like wild forest fires which are now increased in the Canadian north or maybe in the European cities. There are areas which had never been subjected to heat anomalies, but they are now facing very abnormal heat temperatures, like European communities which have been undergoing for the last 2 years. Then there are cities which are close to the coastal belts region of the world. These coastal cities are now facing the danger of getting either submerged or partly submerged because of rising sea levels, because there is a global melting from Arctic and Antarctic. In that context, if we place Pakistan is geographically dividend, very grateful to Almighty Allah that Pakistan is placed and has high mountains, desert and all kinds of, but it also poses or brings along a couple of challenges, some which emanate from geography, because whatever melts in the north has to flow down to the entire land of this, Pakistan, and has to find its way down to the sea. And second, because we are dependent on our rivers in the north, so whatever happens to the glaciers, whether they retreat or they decrease in the snow melt, it impacts Pakistan. Now this global rise of temperatures is also impacting this Hindu Kush Karakoram Himalayan region, which is the third pole of the world. Now, it is source of about 13 river basin systems, which is feeding about 2 billion people in 8 surrounding countries, including Pakistan, China, India, Nepal, Bhutan, Bangladesh and Myanmar, and to some extent Afghanistan too. So whatever happens to this region, it also is going to impact Pakistan in short to medium term. When we talk to this anomaly that what happens to Pakistan, like floods happened in 2022, there's what again a phenomena which people keep talking about, oscillations of La Nina and El Nino, because these are the typical Pacific Ocean patterns when heat oscillates between either Australian end or they go towards the South American end. So these are the oscillation global patterns which they create some typical kind of environment which oscillates and then triggers multiple monsoons and heavy floods. If the monsoon season is accompanied by other glacial meltings which are accelerated mode, so we are facing two challenges. One, because the river flows are higher in the intensity, and second, there is a rain which is pouring because there is activity in Bay of Bengal, Arabian Sea, or in even Mediterranean Ocean. So Pakistan is unfortunately or fortunately looking at it as a very challenging pattern.
In this challenging pattern, I'd like to understand how important is this shift from disaster response to disaster preparedness for an organization like the NDMA, because this is what the world is also looking at. That we need to be prepared instead of being proactive. We need to be also prepared beforehand to respond to any calamity when if it happens.
In disasters in Pakistan, like the earthquakes, they happened in even pre-Pakistan era, the same 1935 Quetta earthquake and other. We have seen these shocks in different parts of Pakistan's history. We've also seen there are a number of floods which happened, and then since 2005, when there was a great earthquake in Muzaffarabad, this organization had the name of ERA, the Earthquake Repair and Rehabilitation Authority, Rebuild Authority. But then NDMA was formed after in about 2007. And then we continued to manage disasters like floods of 2010, then 14, 16, 18, and then a mega flood of 2022. And what happened in 2022 was that it brought along a very colossal impact of about $30 billion cumulative loss. And if we calculate like from year 2000 to 2025, Pakistan has endured a loss of over $60 billion into the infrastructure, economy, and other facets. Now this disaster, whatever of its kind, it does not come alone. It brings a range of other second order and third order disasters too, like polycrisis. For example, a flood happens, it's gone, the water recedes down, so then there's an infrastructure rebuilt, then there's the community rehabilitation, then there are people who have lost lives or injuries, and then there's a livelihood, and then probably in the agriculture sector, we go down to the food security challenges. People relocate. Then there are internal security and law and order and other problems too. I come down to the genesis of this National Emergencies Operations Center. After the floods of 2022, we thought that the world is now looking at it at one of those many events which are happening around the world. In August 2022, we had this super floods. In February 2023, there was a great earthquake in Turkey and Syria. So whenever a new disaster comes up, the global attention tries to sway from one event to the another, the next incoming. And God forbid, if there's something very grave which is happening next, so the attention would go there.
Like the 8.8 magnitude earthquake that recently happened.
In the eastern belt of China and Russia, sorry, and then Japan, because they keep happening in every part of the world. If we'll show you in some of the portal that what's happening around the world today. So we thought that instead of just posing the situation that we have been subjected to a disaster, let's show some resolve that Pakistan can do. Now, in this disaster management, there is a theory of first mitigation and adaptation. Mitigation is for those countries who have lots of resources and which can do some foreplanning to offset whatever risk is being imposed by the climate change. And if you do not have a lot of resources, so you do go for adaptations. So these two events are part of the proactive disaster management. And whatever you can't manage or can't help it, then we go into the management phase. So whenever disaster strikes, so you have to manage what all you could not adapt or you could not mitigate. In case of Pakistan, floods of 2022 brought us to realize that now we will not be surprised anymore. We thought that we submitted our requests to our responders, National Humanitarian Organization, Pakistan, and then more so to the Prime Minister also has the direction and vision to have some capability so that we can precast or forecast our disasters much before in time. So we can create a time cushion or buffer time before the disaster, which can be utilized by our provinces, by our national military and non-military responders, humanitarian organizations. So whatever we can do in the adaptation mode that I talked about, so that could be made available and Pakistan can save itself from the losses. The global debate is that if we invest in the pre-disaster stage, the $1 invested would save $11 after the disaster.
totally agree
so
with
this
you
is
on
the
that.
amount of the saving, because it is just like that you are anticipating a conflict or a challenge which is going to appear after some time, and if somebody has told you that you have 3 to 4 months time to prepare for, so you can do all of it. You can do whatever you can to do, but train yourself, put your house in order, reach out to your friends in the neighborhood and ask help. Ask from anybody who has also managed this thing before and learn from the experiences. So we thought that we'll have two things. One, we'll build a national capability to first tell us what to do. And then second capability, which is here, NEOC. This is the early warning center. So it will just work like an hourglass. So it is looking into the future of Pakistan. So it will tell us that what can happen to Pakistan in number of months in advance. So we reached out to everybody who approached us to help. We thought that instead of having financial investments, Pakistan needs technical support. We reached out to the people, and now we have over 300 satellites input, which are monitoring this global climate.
There's a new satellite also that is going to be launched by Suparco.
We do that, but every satellite which is launched, it has different components to monitor. Some are for mineral exploration, some for weather, some for climate, and some for other purposes too. So we asked our partners that we are only interested in climate early warning and monitoring patterns.
All
so
right.
If we have that global data, so we can also plan on some other factors too. We also integrated some softwares into it, and now this capability has the ability to perform like future disasters trajectories development up to 10 months in advance.
All right.
This is a big time. So if we thought that if we have these 10 months of time, so we'll sit back and see that, okay, what Pakistan needs to do. So we thought that there's a lot of academia in Pakistan which is developing disaster management experts every year. And there were I think 20 lead universities, and there are 100 plus institutes. We connected all of them and created a national think tank, which is National Institute of Disaster Management here at NDMA. The job of this this think tank was first to collect the national information or the knowledge, and then we reached out to the global communities. We connected the universities of the northern parts of Pakistan, which are like glaciated and mountain snow regions, with the cold zones of the world. We connected them with the universities of Canada, Northern Europe, and other places, China. And then we reached out to the universities who are now based in our desert or semi-desert areas. We connected them with the desert areas of Middle East and even Australia. So we requested them that these universities, now there are about 500 universities and 150 institutes of Pakistan. These TP guys are talking about the disasters knowledge. So we thought that instead of doing everything ourselves, so let's reach out who has accomplished something good. We'll best practice replication will be done. We will get those things out from there and create a Pakistan template. So this is the two basic things which have happened: early warning and then the global academia input.
I
so
think
these are the people of knowledge.
These two points are extremely important in not only climate preparedness but also climate information to the general public and to all the different sectors of the society, so that we can, as citizens of Pakistan, be better informed on what kind of calamities Pakistan might face or is facing or could face in the coming months and years as well. How will the NDMA, sir, in your point of view, embed the risk-informed development, for example, making disaster assessments mandatory for major public investments? Is that possible? Is that being made as we speak?
It is possible because now we have ability to map out the entire geography of Pakistan. We will tell you on the portal that we know exactly that what is lying under the earth. So we know the fault lines patterns, and we can predict the patterns of impact of not only the earthquake seismic activity, but the hydromet or the floods activities onto any investment or a structure which is going to be built in Pakistan. If we tell them, we can tell you that these are the areas which are very high in the disasters vulnerability risk, like high mountains areas which do not have protection for communication and which are lying on a very dangerous area. But same spot may be very high from tourism perspective point of view. So there's a project which is liable to be built on that area.
All right.
So we need to add that climate information so that project will have more resilience embedded into the design. So it is safe for usage next time. So whenever there's a big hydraulic structures to be made, where are the ideal locations for the next dams, small to medium to large storages, that can be predicted, because we know now the technology is of the opinion that we can show you the models from today till 2070. What can happen to Pakistan or what would happen to Pakistan? We have a portal I'll show you which is monitoring till the time of 2100.
Oh.
By the end of this century, we will be able to tell you that.
So you're already working decades in advance.
We have the knowledge till 2070, but we are trying to expand it because these are the knowledge that comes from accumulation of all the previous databases, what is held with the global technology, and then the machines are trained to project these models up to the into the future. And that future projection is up to 95% accurate. We have tested it in the last 2 years, and now whatever we predict through NDMA, it is not only a Met alert or a weather alert, it is a climate disaster warning. Because we tell you that something event is going to happen, and we'll tell you in which area it is going to impact people and how many people will be impacted, for how long you will stay impacted, and what is the loss that you anticipate in infrastructure. So if all these losses are known, and people who are vulnerable there can be told before time that you have 3 months to either relocate or go to the temporary camps or clear off this waterways. Because we have seen in this monsoon too, water has gone to those areas where there were encroachments, and water has a habit of reclaiming its
exactly.
encroachments.
It's territory, you know, it makes its way through. You're the National Disaster Management Authority, and you represent that with the chairman of that, but there are also the PDMAs, there are the DDMAs. How important is the strengthening of the collaboration or the coordination between these agencies and of course your central agency? And in your point of view, are there certain changes or reforms that need to be made in order to further strengthen this coordinated role so that everybody knows what to do before, during and after climate emergencies?
In Pakistan, the disaster management is the devolved subject. That means that it's federal policy making, but execution is outsourced to the provinces through the 18th Amendment. And we value that PDMAs are, since they are the custodian of the area, so they work through the district disaster management authorities are ideally the tier number 1, the first responder. The second responsibility goes to the provinces, PDMAs, provincial disaster management authorities. And NDMA like us, we are the third or the federal reserve. But unfortunately, in some of the areas, like if there is a disaster which impacts more than one province suddenly or simultaneously, then NDMA works up with these on day one. In normal cases, what we do is that we bring in all the PDMAs or the national stakeholders, including our NGOs, industry rep, academia, people with technology, with resources, and even our diplomatic people, to come here and sit with us, and we run different simulation like war gaming exercises. So we create scenarios and tell them that this is going to happen to a particular province. Now this is a challenge, let's find the answer collectively. So everybody sits here, and the people are also connected online, and then we find this best solution which can reduce the impact of the disaster or which can reduce the loss of the infrastructure. So this is how we are reaching out to the provinces, and we have, in the last 2 years, we have a very fundamental, I would say, success in coordination mechanism, because whatever disasters that we undergo in, now we make our plans 4 months before time. We issue to the provinces, we teach them that what is to be done. Most of the things cannot be done 100% because there's a capacity issue or resource constraint, and most of the people are now, there's a specific application which has been developed. People have been encouraged to download it on the mobile.
Can you please name that application for all our viewers?
I will show you along the portal.
Okay.
That is Pakistan Disaster Management Alert, Pakistan Disaster. So we can also do that, and it has translations in all Pakistan languages.
Okay.
So if you can't read it, you can even listen to it. There's an audio message is recorded. It can give you the early warnings that what is going to happen close to your district or home in next 3 to 4 months.
Oh, that is excellent, because you know, if there's a certain leeway between a disaster that could or might happen, I mean, people are better prepared, and they can even, you know, leave their premises if they feel that they are in the center of a certain climate emergency. How is the NDMA implementing anticipatory actions and proactive preparedness protocols to avoid losses and damages during climate emergencies?
Sir, we are doing it in 3 tiers. First, anticipatory action is directed towards homeland, like domestic, our provinces. We have conducted a couple of consortiums, workshops, consultative forums, because we don't want to disturb the existing arrangement, whatever is there. Provinces are very capable and responsible for their own areas. What we can do is that because we have now access to all global knowledge on climate disaster and intelligence, and the best practices too. We also encourage our provincial academia that they should also be a think tank to their provincial governments and PDMAs. Like people living in Bahalpur should be guided by the universities around Bahalpur or any area like that, because those universities should develop those templates of rebuild or reconstruction or rehabilitation utilizing the local materials. We don't want anything coming from outside world to come and create a two-room house and ball in any of the area, like any of the disaster affected area. We thought and we also seen in 2022 floods, most of the items which come from abroad, we don't need usual tent or sustenance articles from abroad. We need high-end like bridges, equipment, aviation flights and those type of things. Now then we have segregated now the high-end cost items which are not available in Pakistan in bulk, but we need it in the disasters. So we have reached out to our diplomatic offices, like all Pakistan embassies abroad, and all foreign embassies in Pakistan too. And there is a specific cell which is trying to tell them that what does Pakistan need in the next 6 months. We have identified who all can provide those needs for, and we reached out to our ambassadors to please coordinate with those departments and get us the pre-assurances, so that when the disaster would come, we will exactly know that this bridge or this helicopter or this flight has to come from this particular country, and the low-cost articles like tents, blankets, food packets, this we will develop in Pakistan, within Pakistan. So Pakistan Industry was called, and we have done a number of consultations with Pakistan Industry and Commerce groups, and we have told them that, okay, this is your responsibility, please prepare or develop the raw materials. Now there are a number of anticipatory actions. We keep reaching out to the communities in the areas where they are living close by. We have also created a large pool of first responders through creating another small little force for every area, which is called Integrated National Search and Rescue in SAR teams, and they are the actual volunteers in that area. And they were trained by not only us but other NGOs in the past 7 years, and the number goes to around 2.2 million plus. So these are the people who know exactly how to save their people close by. So instead of waiting for the formal responder to come from very far up area, or from military or from the other resources, so there are people who have experienced local knowledge and training from the NGO. They can also go and help out the people.
And of course the access is quicker.
Access is quicker. Third facet of the anticipatory action is that we have reached out to our regional friends too, our countries around Pakistan. And we show you that we have a portal to develop, and we can show to the entire world what might happen to them up to say 6 to 10 months before time. So whenever the international delegations they visit any AOC, we show to them that if this is your urgent focus from January to December, I'll show you that portal that we can show them through the entire year, this is going to happen to your country, and the intensity would be approximately this much percentage higher than the last one. And when we indicate to them that, but unfortunately, God forbid, because this happens reality, because 95% projections are correct, we started sharing this information with our Middle Eastern friendly countries, ASEAN nations, Central Asian republics, and there are people in our own South Sri Lanka and Bangladesh. So we share the knowledge that we have developed, because this climate intelligence, if it is not shared in time to the people who are going to be impacted or affected, and if it is held back in the user or in the development stage, for example in a satellite, it will be of no use.
Of course.
And we have shared it with our friends in those areas who had never seen rains. I'll just quote an example, like UAE and Saudi Arabia. Last year they had very precious rains. This year also.
That was so unusual.
January, very unusual rains. Actually, we had predicted that 3 months before time that this could happen, but this took time to settle in because people had no knowledge of this thing. Sometimes we predict that this could happen in Sutlej River because there was no inundation in Sutlej River for the last 31 years. We told them that last year that this will happen and this much flood is going to come. Because technically, even if no data is available to us from the neighboring countries, we can pre-calculate that how much is the glacial melting, what is the rate, what is the flow, what is the storage capacity, and net outflow will come as in the form of
you talk of glacial melting. It's a very important point because in my shows also I've talked a lot about climate change and about Gulfs. Pakistan is one of the countries that is affected by the whole Gulf phenomenon as well. What role does your organization, the NDMA, play in glacial melting, drought early warning? I mean, I'm adding other factors as well, drought early warning, groundwater monitoring, and how is all of this linked to the provincial disaster management plans?
Sir, I will just, we have introduced a terms like called water equivalent of Pakistan.
All right.
Or the water equation in Pakistan. Now we understand that water in Pakistan is coming from 5 to 6 different sources. Glacial melting, when the rivers, they take water from the glaciers. Then there are waters which are from the eastern rivers of Pakistan when there is an overflow. Then third is the water that we extract from the underground through tube wells. Then there's the fourth, which is water which is collected for the vegetation through vegetation and atmospheric events. And then 5, there are some, if there's some coastal flooding, cyclones and these type of things. So water comes from these 4 to 5 different sources. But it is unfortunately utilized in a very unproportionate manner. Like 70% of it goes to agriculture, 23% by the industry, and 7% it is utilized by the domestic consumption. Now this domestic part, 7%, is at risk because now population has gone to that level that this 7% is too less. Pakistan is now 14th most water scarce nation in the world today because our population is rising, our availability of water for population is less, water consumption, recycling or reuse is minimal. So that's why most of the water is lost. Even if we save from our agricultural quota of 70% or industrial quota of 23%, we cannot shift altogether through, because it needs another mechanism to draw it to the pipelines or add it to the civil, our communication centers. So this cannot be diverted toward the domestic use wholly. So that means in next year, this stress or scarcity was going to be increased. Now in that context, GLOF, and I'll come back to the HKH or the glacier meltings. Pakistan is housed to almost 7,000 plus minus glaciers in the north. Out of them, 3,000 are in the immediate vicinity from where our waters they emanate. Most of the waters they emanate from HKH because there's some start from Tibet, some from India and Himachal Pradesh, some from Kashmir area, and then they enter into Pakistan from the north. So whatever happens in HKH region, unfortunately the melting or the snow reduction is about 3 to 4% annual. Last year, it was reported by the World Met organizations that the reduction of water from these sources will be around 31%. We confirmed it through our own softwares and calculations too, and our IRSA report of the last year also validated the same figure. Last year, this non-availability of water or reduction in water was 31%. This year is unfortunately 35%. That means every year, first of all, we are receiving less snow on the glaciers. That snow is not converted into the frozen snow, which can create waters in the long term. And then the rivers, because of the heat, the evaporation is also very high. So these factors, they trigger two things. First of all, they trigger flash floods in the high mountains. So suddenly, like we have saw in Swat and upper KPK in Kashmir areas, because there are storage of the waters, some of them are in the form of the lakes. Then when lakes are overfilled, they burst out and they generate a local flood. Second is the usual flow in the rivers. They get out of control because there is a sudden melting, and then water cannot be controlled because two things. There are encroachments in the waterways. The waterways volume has been shrunk, so water tends to spill over from the brink. So they create localized flooding or emergencies in the mountain or the areas close to the mountains. So in some years, we might continue looking at the possibility of more flash floods or the glaciated melting in the higher mountain areas. And after some time, when the glaciers have melted to an alarming scale, this will go down towards drought because there will be nothing to melt because the glacier is shrinking that way. And this is not urgent or immediate.
But this is something that could be predicted in the coming years.
It can happen, and people have already predicted that in what year, how much of glacier will be gone. We don't want to scare people now, but we cannot do a lot of measures because United Nations has declared 2025 as the year of glaciated preservations. But we have also had our Prime Minister here in NEWC, and we have recommended that Pakistan can also do its part. We can also design, we have an initiative which should be collaboratively led by all the 8 nations around HKH, Pakistan, China and others. So we can put our equitable share into this initiative and do something both passive and active. We can't do anything but happening to the global heat. That is the responsibility of those countries which are emitting higher greenhouse gases. But what we can do is we can do some of the passive measures, like doing something to preserve the ecosystem in the northern mountains of Pakistan, like in the glacial zone. We can design our infrastructure in a way that they are more climate resilient. We can add some agriculture or part of it. We can preserve certain areas through, this is called glacial stitching or some mechanism where we do this treatment to the glaciers. But that's a very small component of that. But all of this combined together, we'll be able to at least limit or control the damage which is impacted because of the glacial melting. Now this glacial melting, if it is large or in the high quantities, it is going to trigger floods, medium to high, but mostly localized. And if it is the rain which is also added to it, then it will create a huge flood like we experienced in floods of 2022. in the long term, if the water keeps drying up, so it will impact our water storage and availability of water for agriculture.
True.
So it will create another challenge for our irrigation, agriculture and food security. For that, people of Pakistan and government of Pakistan is trying to do its best to manage, but we'll need, I think, whole of the nation or system's response into it. People to do some water conservations, government to also, we have designed the policies. Now the implementation goes to the provincial governments, and we will request once again, that they can do a lot. But again, as I said, these climate problems is not a Pakistan origin.
But you know, we have to implement the changes or the measures before it's way too late for us.
Absolutely, sir. Absolutely, sir.
You know, capacity building, sir, is also extremely important. And when you look at disaster management, capacity building is one of the important tools that kind of enhances the workforce, or even a normal a layman like myself, in order to apprise people, also understand what climate change is all about and how to avert disasters in my own neighborhood. What are the initiatives of the NDMA to enhance the capacity building of the responders, of the technical experts, through different, say, fellowships, internships, joint labs, currently or in the future? Are there any plans?
We would like to do it in a little larger scale. For example, if there is a household in danger or under a threat, so every person or component of the house needs to demonstrate or showcase the resilience or a will to change.
Agreed.
So we agreed that in Pakistan, if we are exposed to like multiple disasters, and these disasters, we know now from January to December, in which part of the month, which area of Pakistan is going to be impacted by what type of disaster.
All right.
So if this knowledge is known, because this is with us, with our elders, even with our rural area people, with no education, don't know exactly that what is the time for a typical weather or climate change.
But if they know in advance, that would be wonderful.
But now the value addition which is done by NEOC is that it will tell people that how much increased intensity they should expect every year, and what are the more or the less areas which are going to be impacted, and how they are going to be impacted differently. And because now our summers are increasing, winters are unfortunately shrinking. Our summers, they start setting in by early March and they stay till late September or early October. So we are practically now living in a very prolonged summer.
A lot of climate experts are also saying that in a couple of decades or in a couple of years' time, our new generation will know what winters are really, what we have witnessed, because the winters won't be real winters as such.
It's a natural phenomenon. So like, if we don't take the debate too long, but I am sure the number of ice ages that have been there in the planet. So there is a continuous cycle of reversal, because the water will stay the same on the planet, it will just change the shapes. So what in Pakistan, what we can do is, we have reached out to the people to tell them that we'll carry this message to the home, and now whatever NDMA is developing, the risk communication methods and the messages, we are taking it to all the media mediums, for example, formal media like your offices and other informal media, social media platforms. We are taking it to the, trying to send it out to our provincial authorities, to all DDMAs, and even to the places of worships like mosques and churches, because people gather there.
Information dissemination goes on from there.
We have reached out to the people that if we anticipate that there is an area which is going to find a threat or a disaster in 4 months, so we focus into those areas, reach out to the provinces and DDMAs. Then we also converge to our law enforcement agencies who are in the area, and we try to see that you also carry this message. And then the mobile application, TV ads, commercials, workshops, seminars, the field trainings, and then we also invigorate the NGOs in the areas who are also the custodian of that area, because they live there for a very long time.
And the response is positive, mostly
and
from
the
everybody.
response is positive. We do on ground, we do trainings here at NDMA, we do trainings on the ground, we reach out to meet people with all family groups. So there's the women consultants who talk to the women and then seek what are the specific needs for the girls and women and other.
All right. Sir, climate resilience is extremely important, and I mean, you all understand this better than even people like myself do. What is NDMA's overarching climate resilience roadmap for the years 2025 to 2030? And what are the outcomes that you use to headline KPIs to judge the success of these very roadmaps?
Sir, this 2020 Pakistan resilience map or resilience vision of 2030 was the topic of Pakistan's exposition that we did here in NDMA.
Okay.
And that was the time when we called all our experts, people of knowledge first, who came from our universities and international organizations. Then we asked them, okay, because we have developed those projections. I told you that we have developed till 2070. Okay, let's keep it till 2050. So I can tell you till 2050, Today, Pakistan knows that what could be the population, say, estimates, what are going to be the needs of the people of Pakistan, and what are the disasters which are going to be impacting Pakistan till 2050. So if every threat is known, it is very logical to have a parallel response in place.
Agreed.
So to do that, so if we cut this like 5 years time, okay, next 5 years time, what Pakistan can do, and then what are the long-term measures that what Pakistan must do from that time onwards to 2050. So let's take it as 25 to 2030 is a medium term or
yes.
short term. So in these 5 years, I think we can do a lot by fixing what can be done in 3 years or 5 years with the resources that Pakistan can also generate. Now this is the time we are also reaching out to the global community too. There are green climate funds, there are very supportive funds which can also help in adaptation by different countries, provided that we can project our projects in a very logical sense. That yes, Pakistan is a very high, fourth most vulnerable country in the world. So our vulnerability to climate change is very high. So we need support and focus. So Pakistan narrative is that we are trying our best. We are trying to educate our people. We are trying to galvanize our industry. And we are also trying to find out the solutions from within Pakistan. But everything cannot be done from Pakistan. It has to come from our regional friends and other global climate partners.
One last question before you show us a little bit of around, as well as you said you wanted to show us different platforms from where you operate and how you operate. How does the NDMA or will the NDMA adopt cell broadcast alerts through different systems like the CAP standard in Urdu and other major regional languages? Because there are so many people, and I've talked about this in my shows as well, that there are certain people living in far-flung areas, A, that are very difficult to get to, B, that maybe don't understand certain languages and they only understand their regional languages. So the cell broadcast system in their language becomes very important. For proper reach in time to avert them for any climate emergency that could happen, including for people without smartphones, what are the methodologies that the NDMA is using or would be using?
Sir, in that context, we do it in a two parallel modes. Like if there's an alert which is for everybody, so then it is important to connect it through cell broadcast or say these ringback tones or the messages that one listens to when you dial on a mobile. Then there is a role of collaboration with PTA, Ministry of Information and our telcos. But I guess there are some of the disasters which are localized. So there is no need to alert others who are living in a very far remote area and they are not impacted by it. So we have to be very calculative that what are the communities to be alerted, to be warned about a particular disaster if it is localized, and if it is nationwide, then yes, the national appeal will go in. We are utilizing our applications, we are utilizing our assistance.
So this is in progress as we speak. For example, even now when the rains are happening in different parts of the country, you are using such applications.
We do that, and probably when we go around this place, we'll also show you that how many people we have touched for the monsoons. Like we have reached out through not only the cell broadcast or the cellcast, we have reached out to other informal medias too.
All right.
And we also utilize that when we carry this message and give it to a carrier which has millions of followers. So we understand now this message is indirectly conveyed to X number of millions too. So that's how the risk communication works, because we are today being say subscribed by or being by few. But our other in the second or third order we have an access through multiple means where people can carry this message. And this is not only domestic, our carriers are also our friends abroad, our people who have lots of association with NDMA. And I tell you in the last very sentences that this is the method that Pakistan has developed, that we create a threat part of it, that we tell Pakistan community that what is going to happen to Pakistan, and accordingly then we also show the response part of it. So response is actually the hope that where Pakistan can help, we can reduce the loss. And I tell you this is the response method. As we go along it, it is capable of reducing in Pakistan resources about 40 to 45% losses than the others, because if we do not do anything without threat, then probably we'll have more losses than this. So this loss and response combination is trying to reduce the losses.
I think it's extremely important, especially now also when we are seeing the rains that are affecting different parts of the country. Ladies and gentlemen, this brings an end to this very sitting part of the conversation. The chairman NDMA thought it best to also show us a little bit around and show us the application of the different portals that are happening within the NEOC as we speak. So we'll be showing you those parts right after this short break. Stay tuned. Welcome
NDMA
back,
team.
and now we're with the NDMA team as well as the chairman NDMA right here, and he wanted to show us the different modules and how the NEUC works. Sir, would you like to give us
Yes.
a little bit of insight on
very
how
briefly,
this works?
it's a very intense subject, but we'll try to make it more simple as we can. This side is the, I would say, global watch.
All right.
It watches from the satellites to the global patterns of the oscillations of the, say, winds and the wind patterns, or the glaciers which are melting in different parts of the world. So what is the knowledge that we extract from there? This is the global watch, which is collecting, like as I told you, about 270 plus satellites that we have. Now from these satellites we extract the information that what is the state of monitoring around the globe in different portals. And this is another portal which tells us that what's happening in the world. So that's how we predict whether it's going to be La Nina or El Nino this year, and what is the impact of this is from Bay of Bengal,
And this is in
Arabian
real time.
Sea, and real time, lifetime. And then whatever we collect from the information from the Mediterranean Sea. So Pakistan is impacted by all three directions. So we calculate and we try to see it much in advance, because this is the line of equator. So we are very close by. So what is impacting around Pakistan is impacting not only Pakistan but also the region. Now this is another global glacier monitoring portal. May please show us HKH or Arctic first. Here we'll show you that in case of Arctic, or what is the rate of melting, as we talked about in the earlier stage. Now this Arctic melting is globally going down to a very alarming scale. If you go down to 2027, now this is the shrinking of the mass, which is shown in different colors. Next, please. Accordingly, it can also show you the probabilistic pattern that what is going to happen to the world in different domains. For example, the precipitation, temperature, and what is evolving around Pakistan. So that's what we create, and we gel this with other softwares, and we create the warnings for this. This is MedFusion, and this is a very interesting portal which is monitoring 125 years of data of all global earthquakes which have happened so far. This globe shows you in around the world whatever has happened and what is happening now. So if we go on the clusters of the historical data, that can also identify that what are the safe areas for the future investments or otherwise, or what are the areas where we are anticipating more, because these are the areas where most of the tectonic plates they meet. So these are the traditional areas of seismic activities. Next, please. From January to December, if you run the simulations, it will tell you that what is happening in different parts of the world in different time frames. And this can create early warnings for about 10 months, but let's be very, I would say, limited to 4 to 6 months. Even that would be good enough for people to generate the responses. So whatever the cyclone activities are appearing in that area, or there are some earthquakes which were reported last year, so everything is recorded there, and it can create multiple patterns of windstorms, hailstorms, cyclones, floods, and other patterns.
That is so interesting and so informative at the same time.
Yeah, if you should see it on the global scale, like if we're July, so it will tell you what's happening in ASEAN region, what's there in Africa, in the Western Asia, or maybe in eastern part of Europe, and we can also create and confirm it from other multiple global resources and create the confirmatory alerts very close to those disasters. This side is the our disasters watch. This is our national portal, which is telling us that what is happening in Pakistan. So we merge the national database with the global databases, and we then put them in the center for our common operating picture. So these are our visual watch. For example, if you look at this one, Hydromet portal, this is showing us the anomalies, like what are the areas which are traditionally getting the waters from different areas. Now there are hills around this place, so we have lots of inundations close to this place. So that was the area which is actually the lowest lying in Pakistan. So these are the common areas which were impacted by the last 4 or 5 super floods from 2010, 16, 18 and 22. So these are the common areas which will be regularly impacted. And then some areas in the north which are impacted by the low flow of the floods or the glacial lake outburst in the north. Next, please. Okay, this is a GLOF watch, which is telling us on the north of Pakistan what are the most sensitive places where the next glacial lake outburst phenomenon could happen. As I told earlier, out of 7,000 glaciers, there are again 3,000 are medium intensity high, and again out of them there are 6 to 12 which are likely to burst in the near future. So we keep a watch on that, and we have also simulated that in case these are the areas where the GLOF will happen. So if we zoom into this place, it will tell you from different colors and zonation that what are the high risk areas, from where the water will flow, and in which direction it will go, how many people are living in the valley which will be impacted, and how much time do they have from this point of this time to react or to relocate from this place. This is the response side of the National Emergencies Operations Center. Now, if you see on the left, this is what is happening in Pakistan today.
Okay.
So this is recording the activities and the incidents which are being reported in monsoon 2025. So it is recording and then also seeing that we are also recording it for the analysis and the impact reporting. This is the disaster response. First, this response is to community training platform, which is disaster risk reduction. So we reach out to the people and do some training workshops, simulation exercises, and then there is a gender and community cell portal, which pre-calculates that how many people are going to be impacted: women, children, elderly, vulnerable people, or people with special needs. The last word, I think when we talk about the risk communication, we are very grateful to the media experts. But this was one screen I would like to show you that we thought that it's a time of special attention where people of expert knowledge should talk on this. And we have created those experts, consultants, which can utilize your platforms. And whenever the stage of proactive or pre-disaster resilience is required, we would like people, experts in early warning generation, best practices and community resilience, they will come and talk. And then after the disaster has happened, they will, the resource providers rebuild infrastructure and the long-term coordination. These are the expert people, they should go and talk to them. We have also trying to reach out to have this United Disasters Media Support Group.
All right.
Where we say that not only Pakistan media, but also the global media experts, experts on climate change, experts on disaster management, and experts on best practices. They can also come together, maybe on your show. You can put somebody online too. And we can also have these collaborations so that we, like our think tank, we can have this together like a media think tank.
Agreed.
So we will try to do, and we will try to also put this in our next application in those regional languages too. So people from our Middle Eastern countries can also benefit from whatever we are generating in our apps.
I think they need to benefit the most of all the diligent work, of all this important work that you are doing. Thank you very much, sir,
Thank
to
you,
have
sir.
joined us and to have given us this more than brief, outlook on what the NDMA and EOC is all about and how you people and all your diligent team is working around the clock for that.
Thank you
And
very
I
much.
wish to see and hear more from you and from your team so that we can apprise our public, our viewers in the next coming weeks and months as to how be better prepared and better mitigated for future disasters. Thank you very much, sir.
Pakistan will prevail, sir.
Inshallah. That brings us to the end of today's special episode of Newsroom. We'll see you inshallah tomorrow with news stories segments that pertain to us, you in Pakistan. Stay safe and of course prevent disasters by logging into their applications and to have direct contact with the responders around you so that you are better prepared for future emergencies. Allah Hafiz.